which way. Long as you stir my coffee, baby, you know your daddy's here to stay.
I think for me, I'm always drawn to tell stories that are not told. I'm also drawn as a woman to stories that about strong women in history who kind of defied the odds of their time and stood up for what's right and were courageous in a time where it wasn't safe to do so. And you know, Ella May did it anyway. So for me, telling this story, you know, as a female director working with female writers, it's really been so valuable and so inspiring.
I need to tell you all that as of next week, all wages will be cut by 10 cents a week.
Every day, when my heart is loud, it's different, Lord, what's the matter? Mama can't be treated.
And small sitting area in the middle of the room with a sofa and a wooden rocking chair.
They say we ain't treated right.
Always in. Baby, I don't know what I'll have in the end. I have visions of blue skies, and it's hard to get the light. Where do I go? Where do I go?
So we founded Wanderlust Theater on Location in 2018 as a nonprofit, site-specific theater company. And what that means is we do not use a traditional proscenium space that has, you know, the curtains and the seats and everything. We use actual, sometimes historical sites, sometimes community spaces to provide the authentic backdrop to bring musicals to life. So if we're gonna do Oklahoma, for example, we're gonna do it on a farm in Oklahoma and use the story of that musical to really celebrate community identity, maybe unearth some local history that people don't know about, and really make ties to the community. So for this particular project, for Threads, we are going to be developing the piece to be performed on site at the Loray Mill, where the story actually happened. And the reason that we chose to do that was because the mill has now sort of been, let's say, kind of repurposed. It's been turned into luxury apartments, and there's sort of a disconnect between the use and the purpose of the space now and this rich history that happened here within these, you know, amazing brick walls. So we're really looking forward to using musical storytelling and the sort of magical power of the arts to bring this history back to life for the community, because a lot of people don't know about this story, and there's certainly parts of the story that haven't been told before. So we're looking forward to using the place where it actually happened as the authentic backdrop for our story.
Scene 1. Spotlight up on Ella May Wiggins. She's seated in a rocking chair, rocking her sick baby. Early morning light pours through the window.
My sweet little darling, rest your head. Your mama's here, darling, beside your bed. When I'm away, darling, don't you fret. Mama's working hard for everything we get.
Ella May represents different things to different people. To those who are searching for a representative for women's rights. She represents them. She represents workers that are working hard. She represents workers. She fought for not only white workers, but black workers as well. So she was a social justice warrior on many components.
So Ella May Wiggins was a 29-year-old single mother of 9 children, if you could believe that. She was a local working woman trying to raise her family. She had 4 children die of malnutrition, and really was working to support her 5 remaining children. Her husband left her. She had a boyfriend that was sort of in and out of her life, so it was really just her fending for her children and making sure that she could provide a life for them. And if you really think about it in terms of that, like, it's even more courageous that she had the tenacity to stand up against these mill bosses and be the leader of this strike, because she had everything to lose. She had, she was fired, she didn't have an income anymore, but it became that much of a pressing issue that she could no longer just stand by and keep with the status quo.
So to my family, Ella May was fighting for her children. Her children were literally dying because she couldn't afford to feed them properly, and she couldn't afford to get them proper medicine. Like, that was the most driving force for all of her actions. And she realized the only way things could get better is uniting together and standing together. And that is the message that she sent out in her music.
We leave our home in the morning, we kiss our children goodbye, and while we slay for the bosses, our children scream and cry. And when we draw our money, our grocery bills to pay, not a cent is spent for clothing, not a cent to lay away.
And I think that's the most inspiring thing about her, is that she saw the only way to pave a better life for her children was to make things better. And that's what she tried to do. And unfortunately, she lost her life in the struggle. She was murdered by vigilantes who were opposing the strike. And she sort of became the face of this movement, the martyr of the Loray Mill, she's called.
Ella May is our story, and she gave her life to tell it, to give us voice. The people worked really hard to make this town, and that is the essence of Gastonia. We work hard, we sacrifice. We're unsung heroes of this place. So Ella May, to me, is representative of power and speaking truth to power. And that's what she did, and she lost her life for speaking truth to power.
When you start, I want you to breathe before you start singing. It's coming in a little tight.
Okay.
So, yeah, give us a real body invested sound.
I'll always think of you each night and day.
I'll always think of you, think of you, think of you. Can you just kind of relax that pronunciation? Think of you, and put a little twang on that.
Someday, darling, I won't be troubled no more.
I won't be troubled no more.
They really had to be open, first of all, and flexible, and unlearn a lot of the things that we drill into them when they're pursuing classical music, or when they're specifically pursuing classic musical theater or even contemporary musical theater styles. Because currently our education system is set up where there's a lot of emphasis on sight singing and music reading, which is great and important in and of itself. But with folk styles, it is very much an oral tradition. And so they learned the music by rote. So we had to kind of dismantle a lot of the things that they'd already been studying and learning to do in order to open them up for this process. We're going to teach you these songs, listen, and emulate what you hear. So that was completely new for all of them. And many of them were familiar with country music, but not necessarily with bluegrass and even blues. Even with the gospel, there were some that were more focused on or familiar with contemporary gospel styles as opposed to the earlier gospel styles.
Ain't got a nickel, I ain't got a dime, I ain't got nothing that I can call mine. A job and I sure don't mind. My baby, she loves me, but I leave her behind. Whiskey's hopping on a two-joint floor, banjo's picking, we're begging for more. Fiddles crying in the dim lit light, two-joint jumping on a Saturday night. Fiddles crying in the dim lit light, two-joint jumping on a Saturday night, two-joint jumping on a Saturday night.
Every time you feel a midnight breeze, I sure hope it'll make you think of me. Whiskey stopping. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So give it meaning for you as a character so that it's not just slow words.
Putting back in, Bonnie fetches the laundry as the Carpenter sisters, Minnie and Maddie, make their way downstairs. So that's important for Jillian to know. Before you say morning, Miss Bonnie, I'm going to have the stage direction.
Well, we've been working on this piece for about a year now. We hired our creative team last June as we assembled the amazing team that we have to sort of start building this piece. We began with working with some local historians to really learn about the history. So we made sure we got that right in our story and also tell some of the sort of not told or untold parts of this story. For example, the African American contribution to this strike that really isn't talked about. That was something that was really important to our team and our playwrights to include. So that's kind of where we began, was really with the history, and then thinking about sort of the folk music aesthetic of this region, of this area. Unfortunately, we were able to find the perfect composer, Mark Dillon, to bring on this project, who not only is, a world-class, award-winning folk musician in his own right, but also is somewhat of an amateur local historian about mill history. So perfect combination to kind of have him working on this piece.
That's it. That's where you're getting. So when you start thinking less about it and just know the words and do them, you are totally fine. But it is going to take the confidence of Charlie, which is a character who is clearly, this is how he... Have you been following? I'm guessing that you wrote about Charlie Poole as part of your thing?
I did listen to his music.
Good. So, yeah, and one of the things you want to think about is not just listening to it, because this is a character who lived a life of absolute every moment on the edge like he was going to die.
What has been the most challenging thing about this project for you?
I think the biggest part is just making it all come together. There was a point in January where things aren't clicking perfectly. Mm-hmm. It's off to a slow start. I'm just utterly terrified of how does it work? How does it happen? And then somehow it happens. So yeah, I think that's it, is taking the risk of saying, all right, we're going to create something completely new from scratch is always both terrifying, challenging, and exciting too. But, hearing it in vision, that's really nice to hear. That's great.
I'm still young, beautiful and free. But while I can wish, that's not who I can be.
Nice.
Been married and abandoned, but life has demanded. Seems so often too hard to tell. I'm weaving dreams in cotton, stitching hopes in the thread for my children. my children all tread. I know how hard I work.
It was funny today because the aerialists were playing songs to work on it. And when you hear something objectively, like you're not anticipating hearing it, you just hear it being played back, and you like it, and it takes a second to process that you were the one that created it. I was like, all right, that's a good feeling.
It's a weird thing to look at your work, right?
It is, and it's especially a weird thing when you look at it objectively, when you're suddenly sort of removed from it because your brain's not processing, oh, that's a thing I created. It's just something you're hearing in the background. Like, oh, that's catchy. And you're like, oh, okay, we wrote that. So, yeah.
We're really excited for this project to partner with a company called Nouveau Sud Circus Project, and they are a circus arts company that was founded in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they sort of perform internationally, and all of their circus work has sort of a social justice lean to it, and some of the work that they do involves aerial silks. And we thought it would be a really unique way to incorporate fabric into the storytelling, since this story is about a textile mill. So we're using the fabrics and the silks as an integral part of the physical storytelling of this piece. So we're really excited to partner with Nouveau Sud and to include their creativity, and especially because their company does have an emphasis on stories of social justice and social impact. What better way to incorporate that element into our story that's about a labor strike and a fight for justice and a better life.
Don't worry, my brother, we'll be fine. Nothing can hurt you, 'cause you're mine. I love you, my brother, please don't fret. Mama's working hard for everything we get.
So a playwright in the world of musical theater is the one who typically writes the book being all of the spoken dialogue of the story. In this case, Raven and I also wrote lyrics for some of the songs, along with Mark Dillon, which was fun because I wasn't expecting it, but yay.
Stacey Rose has been kind of like, in my career, kind of like instrumental in bringing me and like making sure that I had projects to work on and things like that. And one of the plays that I had written before it also had like the theme of like Southern textile mills. So she thought that this would be something that I would be interested in, and also something that would kind of fall into my skill set, because I've written a lot of period piece type work in the past. I think like for me, this has been like a really interesting experience and a really challenging experience that I hope will also bring something to me in my career. Work under such a crunch, and then we still created something that was so beautiful and that people are already responding well to.
There were gaggles of research to be done, because I did not know, although I have lived in Charlotte since 1996 and have been coming to the area longer than that, I did not know much about the Loray Mill or the American Mill. So it's been really fun just kind of digging in and finding out who these folks are. And just finding out a little bit of history around the area. Like my folks tend to come from the Anson County area, so I didn't know a lot about Gastonia and Gaston County. So this has been like, and I'm a research nerd, so I love this kind of stuff, and it was a lot of it. Yeah.
One thing I would like people to walk away from this experience knowing is that we put our heart and soul into this project, and what we're doing, we hope we will enlighten, educate people, and entertain them. And it's important work because the story that this is based on is something that is very much rooted in the local history of this region. And I think it's important for these untold stories and untold aspects of these stories to be heard. So we're really giving a voice to the voiceless, especially when you think about the communities, like the African American community that was a part of the mill community at that time, that to date has not necessarily been heard in the retellings of what occurred in 1929. So yeah, just have an open heart, have an open mind, and look forward as we are to some great work that's coming down the pipe. So that's what I would have to say.
I'm just really proud of all of the work that went into this piece from every angle, literally from the writers to the composers to our dramaturg, and all the way, up and down to the students who are the ones at the end of the day that are bringing this story to life for our audience. And I'm just really proud of the work that we've done in such a short time frame, and I'm so excited to see where this story continues to go as we develop this piece further.
Write about everyone, because you want to honor everyone's experience in this process. And I think
Ella May represents the workers. She represents women.
Yeah.
She represents so much, and the working poor needs their hero, and it needs to be seen here in Gaston County, and that's what we're working on doing.
When is Act 2 coming out?
Just done.
We're hoping that over this next year, we're going to get somewhat of a draft of it, and then that will kind of turn into the full version, but that was the